on KSHP with the Chris Thomas Show with TMZ's Layla Lopez.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for being here. Hope everybody had a good weekend out there. For me, it was a very quiet weekend, and a weekend where I was a little bit under the weather, so I was recovering a little bit over the weekend and watching what was taking place in Portland and getting into it with the mega buffoons out there that go there to agitate and lie for a living. It really is unbelievable. If you haven't heard, there are alleged victims out there, KV Daviscourt and Nick Sorto, who was arrested, claiming that they're being attacked by Antifa, and these videos are just to the contrary of it. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. David Pollock, good debate with him coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Of course, MAGA Republicans continue to lie and claim that the reason why we're still in this government shutdown is because those on the left want free health care for all undocumented immigrants. We know that that is another complete lie. But yet, the lies continue, and people believe what Mike Johnson has to say. We're going to play a little bit of that audio of what the House Speaker had to say earlier today, continuing to lie. But, I wanted to get down to the truth of what is really happening in Portland. In my understanding, it's only about a block or so. And we have these mega morons that make a living flying out to these areas trying to agitate, for lack of a better term, alleged Antifa members. Nick Sorto got arrested. Katie Daviscourt claims she got a black eye. And they're all victims, right? They're all victims. Well, I said, let's actually get real eyewitness word of what is going on or what is happening in Portland. Pam Hemphill, who joins us right now on the program, she is a fan of the show, and she has been out there in Portland. Pam, it's good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for bringing me on.
Yeah, so Pam, how many days have you been out there in Portland?
Well, I went there last Friday and left yesterday, so about 6 days.
All right, so I wanted to get firsthand knowledge, eyewitness knowledge from you as what's been going on there. How large is this? Is this like a block? Because I've heard it's only about a block or so.
No, it's just across the street and catty corner. It's not. They're not filled up through the whole block.
So we're talking less than a block. We're talking maybe a street.
Yeah, that's about it. Maybe 150 people at times, sometimes 50. In the morning, there's less. At night, then it all starts in the evening.
Do you see any reason why Donald Trump should be calling out the National Guard?
Oh, absolutely not. This is all staged. This is theater. This is all that's happening here. So you can get this illusion. You watch it every hour. You see the ICE come out to move them away because cars are coming out, right? Official cars. But I witnessed a car coming in, and the protesters moved all by themselves, and they went in. If the protesters agreed that if the cars are coming out, they'll move. They don't need no ICE coming out there. But it's a show. And then they throw the smoke bombs. And if you don't move back fast enough, and I witnessed this, they will pepper spray you or arrest you. You've done nothing. They yelling and they got their signs. Well, it's a protest. They should be yelling. But they're not breaking a law that I see. They have a blue line right in front of the driveway. You can't go over it. But I watched and witnessed a transgender, of course, they're targeting them, doing nothing. I mean, he was across the street with the sign by himself, no cars coming in or out, no reason to move him. And they came out and arrested him and tackled him and injured him pretty bad.
I'm sorry to hear that. I want to talk about a couple different individuals. Katie Daviscourt, who claimed she got a black eye from Antifa, and then Nick Sorto, who was arrested, who is playing victim, claiming he was the one who was attacked. Let's start with Nick Sorto. So this is a right-wing provocateur. He goes out to all these different events and agitates. And he's done this for years. This is how he makes money. I saw the video. He wasn't physically attacked or assaulted. In fact, you interviewed the person who Nick says assaulted him. What do you make of this?
Oh, yeah, it's all staged. Yeah, he was going around all day. See, what happens they allow you to be there. And if you're peaceful and just going around videotaping, they don't have a problem with you. But they started noticing Nick going around to all the women and saying terrible things to them, agitating them, making them, I mean, bad things to women. So they started watching him to keep an eye on the girls. And that's what he's doing. He's trying to get them to, push him or do something to say, see, they're violent. But according to her, and I interviewed him after the incident, he would not tell me a word. I said, did somebody physically push you? He would not answer it. I thought, well, he's saving it for his lie later. That's why. But no, somebody had put an umbrella in front of him because he had pushed her. He was becoming aggressive, very aggressive verbally and physically, and you don't know what he's going to do to keep him in distance from the other girl. That's all. He was not attacked by nobody. But if you see, they will try to get you to leave if you're creating problems because they don't want to see anybody get hurt.
And isn't that, Pam, what all of these people do? They fly out to these events. They want confrontation, sometimes physical altercation.
Yeah.
They want to get their viral moment, which unfortunately Nick got, and he got a text message from Donald Trump supporting him. And they play victims. That's what they do. They go out to these events. They want physical confrontation. They want, because that's what they use on social media. And this is how these people make money, like Nick Sortor.
Oh, he totally twisted it. He totally twisted it. Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. It's a stage. It's a theater right now. And they're trying to make it look like they're coming at them and attacking them for no reason. No, they're going around yelling at them, agitating them. And some people just can't handle that. You don't know who might want to push him back because they're angry out there. They're standing up for the democracy. They're getting pepper sprayed. So he knows that, and he's trying to trigger them into hitting him. They do not want that. They were even told if anybody's found with a gun or a knife, they're going to make you leave. They did find one of the counter protesters, I don't know if he's MAGA or not, with a knife, and they turned him into the police. They don't want no violence. They don't want you coming there bringing your violence. They don't want a part of it. They're peaceful.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. If you're just joining us, Pam Hemphill, she was out there in Portland for multiple days. She witnessed what was going on there. She says it's not even a block. It's just across the street, maybe dozens of Antifa members. And now Donald Trump is threatening to call out the National Guard there, which is absolutely absurd. Let's talk a little bit about a woman by the name of Katie Davenport. So she claims she got a black eye from an Antifa member, claims that she was following this Antifa member for 35 minutes after, which I don't believe. There were no arrests that were made. And then Katie claims on social media she doesn't want attention and she doesn't like playing the victim. Yet she's done dozens of right-wing shows, and she'll be on Jesse Waters' show tonight. And it just strikes me as not only odd, but yet another right-wing moron who calls himself a journalist who just wants attention. What do you know about this?
Well, I was there at the last part where they were trying to ask her to leave and asking her to stop stalking this young girl. Because what had happened, they've been following them all over the streets. I guess they're trying to find their so-called safe house. There's people they know in the area. They might go in and take a shower or something. There's no safe house that they're hiding in. But that's a made-up lie. But they got scared because they don't know who they are. And her bodyguard was with her, and he has a gun. And you're young, you're 17 years old with your friends. You don't know who's coming. They're stalking them. They won't stay away from them. Well, what happened is the wind's blowing really hard, and they were holding the flag with the pole going backwards because that way nobody can get to them, right? Can you visualize this?
Yeah,
and
sure.
The wind's blowing. She gets behind her, and the wind blows, and the pole hits her by accident. It was an accident. They don't get violent. I mean, there's self-defense to a point, but they don't want to be violent. They got a big wrong picture of these people. Believe me, I've talked to all of them, and I just love them dearly. Because I told them, if they're going to be violent, I'm leaving. I don't want a part of seeing anybody hurt anybody. And they told me, we're not here to do that. Over and over. We don't want that. But they are coming after us. And I thought, that's exactly what happened. So I told Katie, stop spreading your propaganda. Just be honest about what happens here. I got that on video. And of course, she got all mad at me, wouldn't talk to me. But these these women didn't hurt her at all. They didn't mean to. The pole again. Have you ever been behind somebody with a flagpole in a vent? You know how it hits you. I got hit on the shoulder once by accident. It's my own fault. I got too close, and that's what happened.
So Pam, she's doing all these network interviews, right-wing entities. She's going to be on Fox News tonight on Jesse Waters. So are you basically claiming that she's lying, that she's going on there saying that she was attacked and she was a victim? Is Katie a liar?
Yes, it's staged. And this is what they're doing. They're going out there, and I know because Evan Bundy and all the far right, I was with them. They staged these on purpose. And like Nick, when he fell, and he says, they broke my camera. He fell accidentally on his own because he caused that. He tripped.
Right.
They didn't break his camera. They're lying about everything. I'm telling you, everything I've watched, they're lying.
And you know, it's amazing to me, Pam, because this is what so many of these people do for a living. They go out to these events. They are agitators. And I believe the police are doing the best job that they can. And I believe the arrest of Nick Sortor was absolutely and positively the right thing to do. They're agitators. They go to these places. I mean, these so-called Antifa members, I don't think they're there to get into physical altercations. They're there because they care about democracy. And you have these right-wing turds, for lack of a better term. And I was texting Cam Higbee earlier today. He's a complete clown. And they go out there and they try to get clicks. They try to get their viral moment. And unfortunately, Sortor got his moment. He got a text message from the president. And now he's doing all these interviews on Fox News and OAN and Newsmax. And he's being painted out to be some hero when really isn't he just some moron who's there looking for viral videos and confrontation?
Yeah. And in fact, when it is our constitutional right to burn a flag, and one of the protesters were burning a flag. I don't know about the city law, the fire law in that city, but he runs over, grabs that flag, puts it out and steals it. So am I correct? Isn't it constitutionally? Okay. Yeah, this is the kind of thing he does. He is purposely trying to look like he's out there saving us from the Antifa. There is no Antifa. I'm telling you, it's funny. I have met with these people. They're bringing me some food and soda and water, and they're so kind. And I've told all of them, look, I'm not going to take any side. If I see you being violent, I will video. It's not okay to hurt anybody. And They agree with me. They have agreed with me 100%. Pam, they're coming out here and agitating us. We leave them alone until they start to really get, more aggressive. They get scared of them. And I get that. They got to protect the women there because that's what they're doing. They're attacking a lot of these women verbally. I mean, they get right up to them and just call them the words I can't repeat. It's awful. It's horrible what you see them doing to these people. It's breaking my heart. And then ICE. This girl didn't move back fast enough and they pepper sprayed her and she's screaming, I can't breathe.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I interviewed her too. And then an older couple, I saw that where they just pushed them down. They were just talking. They're mad at them. So what? It's just verbal words, I get frustrated even talking about this because it's just so wrong what them are doing right now. I got somebody at my door. I don't know.
Oh, that's okay. Well, Pam, I really do appreciate you coming on and talking to us. And I'm glad that you were there so we can get an eyewitness view, non-biased eyewitness account of what happened, Pam. And I hope you continue to do this. And I appreciate the great work. It sounds like your dog needs your assistance.
Yeah, somebody's knocking on the door.
Well, we'll let you get the door. But Pam, I really do appreciate you coming on and sharing your stories with us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime you want to know more, let me know.
Thank you, Pam. Appreciate you. That's Pam Hemphill, everybody. And those of you who don't know who Pam Hemphill is, Pam went to jail. She was part of January 6th, and she owned what she did. She took responsibility. She did not accept a pardon from Donald Trump. And now she goes to these events with her own eyes. And she said exactly what I thought, that Nick Sortor is an agitator. He wants his videos to go viral. He's a moron. Same thing with Katie Daviscourt. I've heard from other witnesses as well, and it's interesting that it's not on video, right? These right-wingers out there, they have cameras everywhere, but no video footage of Katie getting attacked, allegedly, right? It's a joke. And I believe these people are grifters, and they're out there just to go viral. And Nick Sortor, unfortunately, has made a living doing it. And I told you guys, I was talking to Cam Higbee earlier today, who's another right-wing buffoon. That's who these people are. Now, in the midst of all this, we are also under a government shutdown. I want to get the right's side to this, but every single time I get into a discussion with them, it usually turns into a lie. I'm hoping that doesn't happen here. I like having good spirited debates with people. I think anybody who listens to the show knows that I would rather have a discussion with somebody that I disagree with than somebody that I agree with. Number one, I think it's better radio. And number two, I like to have civil debates with people. And the guy joining us on the show right now from the David Pollock podcast, I still have not been invited on his podcast show, by the way. I'm very upset at that, but that's okay. David Pollock joining us right now on the program. David, it is good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Thank you very much, my friend. I don't do debates on my show. My show is just like I pander to my echo chamber.
Well, people can accuse me of doing a lot of things, but they never can accuse me of that. Right. Anyway, I appreciate you being here, David. All right, let's start by talking about this government shutdown. We're hearing from the right that the reason why this happened is because Democrats want to give everybody, including all undocumented immigrants, health care. Do you share that same opinion?
Well, so this is a semantic game, a very clever one. So the reason why the government is shut down, and of course, we'll either agree or disagree on this, and Democrats are saying it's a Republican shutdown. Republicans are going to say it's the Democrat shutdown. The Republicans did pass a clean CR through the House, through the Senate, which funds the government at the current levels until, I think, November, and which would allow them to negotiate for the continuation or some form of ACA subsidy. But the Democrats decided to leverage the powerful minority position in the Senate. And if, as your viewers know, I'm sure you've been educating them that you need 60 votes in the Senate in order to pass a spending bill that originates in the House. And Republicans only have 53 votes. And so the issue is that Republicans can't pass the vote in the Senate without Democrat support. And Democrats want to take issue with these ACA subsidies during this funding fight. Now, of course, there are montages everywhere of Democrats condemning the use of a shutdown in order to legislate. I'm not sure why they chose to do it now, but I don't think the time to negotiate for ACA subsidies is during a shutdown while American families are paying the price for politics. And so I agree with the Democrat position that shutdowns should never be used for legislative purposes, and it's harmful. Now, as far as your original question, the articulation of why there's a shutdown, I'm sure both sides are looking to point blame and using various arguments, but I think the fact that all of this is supposedly contingent on this undocumented healthcare issue, I think distracts from the actual reason for the shutdown, and that's the Affordable Care Act subsidies are increasingly necessary to pay for unaffordable health insurance, and we could talk about that later.
Right, but David, it is the right, including Donald Trump and Caroline Leavitt, that are blaming Democrats and saying that the Democrats want free health care for undocumented immigrants, right, where, as you know, that is illegal. They do not qualify for Obama subsidies, and it's completely illegal. So I don't understand why. It's one thing if you want to debate what's in the bill. We can talk about the big, beautiful bill, and I have more questions for you on that. Sure. But Republicans are just, I don't think you are. I haven't heard you say this, but a lot of Republicans out there are lying and saying that Democrats want free health care for all undocumented immigrants. And that's simply not true. And
you're using the word undocumented, and you're using it correctly. Obama, there's two arguments on that. You're using the word undocumented. ACA isn't, undocumented illegals are not eligible for the Affordable Care Act as undocumented illegal aliens. Undocumented illegal aliens do put a strain on our emergency rooms, and they want more funding for that in the Democrat bill. And so you can make an argument that they're shutting down the government for healthcare for illegal aliens. But I think really what a lot of people are getting confused on is the difference between an undocumented or illegal alien versus somebody that's protected from removal, who's lawfully present, but not necessarily a citizen, or even somebody with so a permanent resident status. And so the Affordable Care Act, what it did, not Affordable Care Act, the Big Beautiful Bill, and Donald Trump through various other measures restricted the ability to use ACA for people in certain legal or lawful statuses, lawfully present statuses. And those are people who are on temporary protection and things like that. So it's a game of semantics, depending on how you use it. You're properly using the term undocumented.
I understand.
But when you say illegals, it could technically include all of those areas of people who entered the country illegally. It's a distinction.
Let me ask you a very, what I think is a pretty fair and basic question, which is, if you're undocumented, if you're illegal, and you're having a heart attack or you're bleeding out, and you're dropped off at the emergency room, do you want to live in a country where doctors ask you first for your paperwork before trying to save your life?
No, but that's not what's at the heart of this. It's not saying they're not going to have health care.
Caroline Levitt wouldn't answer that question when she was asked about it. She wouldn't answer.
That's fine. The reality is when you have hospitals that are able to get a higher reimbursement for people that are undocumented seeking healthcare versus people that are citizens seeking healthcare, because a lot of some Americans don't have insurance too. And the argument under the ACA was, should Americans go to the emergency room and die in the waiting room because they don't have insurance?
Of course not. Nobody's making that.
Of course not. I think we both agree. But the thing is, the way the Democrats want to structure this in their ransom note to keep the government open is they want to provide more funding to hospitals for reimbursement.
They want to make sure that
illegal aliens.
They want to make sure that if an undocumented immigrant shows up at the ER and they need life-saving care, they should be able to have it.
But they want to reimburse that at a higher rate of citizens, and that's the problem. They want to defund $50 million of rural, or $50 billion, I believe, of rural healthcare coverage and redirect that to urban hospitals to treat illegal aliens. That's wrong. I mean, I'm not saying you leave them in a parking lot to die, but we need to talk about what the responsible reimbursement would be for treating people that don't have health insurance and whether they're illegal or not.
But David, there are MAGA Republicans out there that believe that an undocumented immigrant should not get any type of care in the ER. And I find that to be reprehensible. Caroline Levitt was asked about it and she wouldn't give a direct answer. The first answer, I think we both agree on this. The first answer should be, yes, if you're close to losing your life under any circumstance, we should be able to help you because this is America. And she wears that cross on her neck, calling herself a Christian. Is that Jesus's teachings?
I mean, I wouldn't question anybody's faith based on what they're doing their pile. Well,
I would. If you're saying, if you can't straight out answer the question, David, which you did, but if you can't straight out answer the question, if somebody is dying, should we help them in the ER without first asking for their legal status? Anybody should answer that question as, no, we shouldn't be asking. We should help that person. Caroline Levitt and others in the White House, like the Stephen Millers of the world, will not answer that question because they do not believe that if you're undocumented, you should get life-saving care if you're dying. Well, that's not a Christian.
I'm not, like I said, I wouldn't question anybody's faith, and I also wouldn't characterize that being the position of the White House. I think you're making that assumption based on the fact that she
wouldn't answer the question, Dave.
That doesn't mean that that's her policy. That you're assuming that that's her policy.
If somebody asked you, okay, well, tell me what I should assume then. Right. And I know you don't speak for Caroline Levitt, David.
Of course,
I understand that.
I'd take that job if I can be Caroline Levitt's spokesperson.
Explain this to me then.
Sure.
Why is it that when she is flat out asked in a press conference, is it the policy of the White House to not give care to those that are undocumented that need life-saving care in the ER? And she won't flat out answer the question. Give me one logical reason why she won't answer that.
Because she speaks on the behalf of the president. If the president if the president hasn't given her the answer to that question yet, she would have to circle back to it. Like we all remember the circle back era of Joe Biden. There's nothing wrong with not having an answer and having to circle back to it. There's nothing wrong
when it comes to saving people's lives that are in the ER.
You're assuming because she didn't answer the question that she doesn't have an answer to the question.
She did another press conference today and she wouldn't answer it either.
But that doesn't mean she does that. You're making an assumption of why, but I don't know. I don't know why.
All right. So maybe I make a lot of assumptions.
That's fair. You can make an assumption, but
I don't think I do. I disagree with you. I think it's pretty logic, but tell me if you think this is an assumption.
Sure.
Kash Patel was asked 7 times under oath. Did you tell Pam Bondi that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files.
Oh God, are we
He
talking
wouldn't-
about Epstein for real?
I know you guys don't want to talk about it.
No,
but
I don't want to talk about it because it's the.
Of course you don't.
It's,
Of course
it's
you don't.
just. Anyway,
I
go
know.
ahead.
It's very convenient that now all of a sudden Republicans don't want to talk about it.
Yes,
But the
all
reason
of
why-
this is we're covering for
very
Epstein.
convenient. Very convenient. Because for years I heard people like you talking about how the files should. But anyway, there's a reason why I'm asking.
No, I
this
never
question.
talked about Epstein ever. I
Well,
don't care about
you
Epstein.
might be one of the only MAGA supporters that did. But anyway,
check my social media history. I
Okay.
don't talk about Epstein
well, most
other
MAGA
than recently. Other than recently.
My question to you is,
Yeah.
why is it that Kash Patel wouldn't answer that question under oath when Eric Swalwell asked him 7 times? Am I making a judgment or whatever, saying that maybe the answer is yes, and the reason why Kash Patel didn't want to answer that question under oath because he didn't want to perjure himself? Is that a fair assessment?
No, I mean, yeah, you can make whatever assumptions you'd like. Look, you're a political commentator, and you approach it from a certain point of view, and you can make whatever assumptions you like. It's fair. Well,
So give me a
whether or not
reason.
I agree with those assumptions,
I wouldn't
is a
answer
different
that.
story.
Give me one logical reason why he wouldn't answer
You'll
that
have
question.
to ask him why he wouldn't answer it.
Oh, come on, David.
I'm
David,
not going to make assumptions on why somebody doesn't answer
Hold
a
on a
question, Brian.
what do you mean?
Ask
You're
me about
not
what
a
I
attorney.
think. Ask me what I think, not what other people are thinking
Okay,
when not saying
okay.
things. I can't answer that.
Why do you think
Yeah.
you're an attorney? Why do you
Yeah.
think Kash Patel, if you were up there
Uh-huh.
questioning a witness
Yeah.
and you asked them a yes or no answer to a basic question, which is,
Right.
did you tell so-and-so this? And they wouldn't answer the question 7 times in a row. What would
Depending
be
on the
their-
way the question was asked, I wouldn't answer it. If they're asking me about privileged communications, I wouldn't answer that question. If they're asking me things, if I didn't like the way the question was asked, I wouldn't answer the question. As an attorney, you asked me as an attorney,
If the
there's a
answer
lot of
was
reasons
no-
not to answer a
okay,
question that's not asked.
Let me ask you another way. If
Yeah.
the answer was no, hypothetically speaking, and Kash Patel never told Pam Bondi that Trump was in the Epstein files, give me one logical reason why he wouldn't answer the question and just say no. Give me one reason.
Well, are we're engaging in hypotheticals, and the hypothetical question is
No,
if Trump
hypothetically, he
wasn't.
wouldn't answer. He wouldn't answer the question. I'm trying to figure out why.
I don't know. You're gonna have to.
I know
ask him.
why.
Get him
I
on
know
the show. Ask Cash to come on and ask that question.
David.
Ask me what I think about policies, and I'll tell you.
David.
I don't
David.
know why Cash didn't answer the question.
I don't believe you. You know exactly.
I'm sorry,
David.
I don't have his phone number. I can't call him and ask him why I didn't answer it. You
Oh,
want me to agree with you or disagree with you on an assumption? I'm not
No,
going to do
but
it.
You don't know. You can't think of a reason why Kash Patel wouldn't answer that question.
I'm not going to think of a reason you'll agree with. Certainly not.
Why wouldn't he answer it? Give me a reason.
I don't know. Maybe
don't know.
because Trump's not in the Epstein files. Whatever
So-
whatever that is.
So he
Whatever
didn't want
the
to
Epstein
answer.
files is.
So he didn't want to answer it by saying no, but he didn't want to answer it because Trump isn't in the Epstein files. David, that makes absolutely no sense at all. You know that makes no
Listen,
sense.
I don't know why we're talking about Epstein. The government is shut down. There's riots in Portland. I mean, there's so much happening, and you want to talk about Epstein. And I've talked about Epstein for so many hours, and of all the topics that interest me politically, this is so far at the bottom of the list. Now, I do feel, and this is important for me to say, I have interviewed advocates for the victims, and I feel terribly for all of the people that were victimized by Jeffrey Epstein. As far as this entire conspiracy surrounding it, I don't know enough about it. There are people who've dedicated years of their life researching all the conspiracies and who might be involved and what intelligence apparatus and whether he was killed. None of that interests me. I want to see justice for the victims. However that is achieved, I don't know. That is something that is outside of my area of expertise.
Well, I don't think you
I'm
have
not
to
your
be,
Epstein guest.
I don't think you have to be an expert on this to understand that what Donald Trump is hiding, and he doesn't want people to talk about it. But anyway, if you're just joining us, David Pollack. All right, David, let's talk a little bit about Portland.
Sure.
I watched the video of Nick Sortor.
Mhm.
I saw what happened. I just had a witness who saw what happened.
Mhm.
He's claiming he's the victim.
Mhm.
Katie Daviscourt, it's interesting. These right wingers out there, they have cameras everywhere, but interesting, they don't have a video of Katie being assaulted. Do you
So
think
she punched herself in the eye? She
no, I
gave
didn't
herself
say
a
that.
black eye?
No, I've had an eyewitness who actually saw what happened and told me what happened, which makes complete sense to me.
All
But do you think Nick Sortor is a hero?
Yeah, I
Like,
do.
right, you do.
Yeah, I
Why
think-
is he a hero?
Because he's doing amazing work out there. He goes to
What is he doing?
places. He's bringing the truth to the American people that the fake news isn't showing them. By
It's the
going
truth.
down there, the truth is you have a mob of people, whether they're Antifa or Antifa sympathizers or just people who are anarchists or whatever the associations of the people out there are, the anti-ICE demonstrators and protesters. They have become violent with federal agents. They have become violent with reporters, violent with pedestrians, violent with anybody that they perceive as a
Nick
threat.
Sortor was arrested.
Yes, Nick Sorter. I call him Sorter. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. He's never corrected me, and I call him Sorter. But anyway, he was arrested for taking video.
No, that's not true.
Well, there was. They didn't even know why they arrested him. Do you know it took the police an hour just to figure out why they arrested him? He was sitting in the police car for an hour before they even told him while he was arrested. And you know what they charged him with? Disorderly conduct. They charged him with disorderly conduct when you literally have hundreds of people throwing rocks, shouting in megaphones in the middle of the night, attacking people, throwing things at federal agents, obstructing traffic. But they charged Nick Sorter with disorderly conduct. How does honestly, like, how do you go and say, yeah, that makes sense?
Well, first of all, because I saw the video.
What video? I saw the same. I saw hours of videos.
Yep. And he is an agitator, and he is
an agitator. What makes him an agitator?
Getting in somebody's face, screaming obscenities at women. I've seen videos.
They're screaming in his face. Are they not agitators too?
First of all,
why does the knife never cut both ways?
It absolutely does. Yeah. And
the people out there in masks screaming and throwing things at people and shouting obscenities, and throwing urine on people. Are they not agitators?
Never condone that. None
of them are getting arrested. Not a single one of them are getting arrested.
That's actually not true. There are plenty of people that have been arrested
by the federal government, not Portland police.
You just said people, that is also not true. There are Portland police officers that have arrested Antifa members and people on the other side of the aisle as well. What you're saying is not factually accurate. I call out political violence in any way. There's a reason why Nick Sortor is there. There's a reason why Cam Higbee is there.
To bring the story to the people that the media won't cover. That's why they're there.
Not.
They're journalists. Nonsense. That's what journalists are supposed to do.
All, a journalist doesn't carry mace on them and follow Antifa all over the country. That is the opposite of a journalist.
Nick Sortor follows Antifa all over the country?
Cam Higbee does that, and Nick Sorto has been doing this for years. He follows Antifa and he agitates to try to get videos.
He brings the story. When Antifa is destroying a city, he shows up and brings the story to the people that the fake news won't show you.
Are you claiming that
makes him a hero? Absolutely.
Antifa is destroying Portland?
Of course they're destroying Portland.
So
they're destroying Portland. They're destroying Seattle. They're destroying LA. They're destroying Chicago. They're destroying Washington, D.C.
It's a half of a block of Portland. How are they destroying the city?
Wait a minute. So are there only portions of the city that they're allowed to destroy?
Tell me.
Where is the boundary of anarchy in a city like Portland?
Tell me, how are they destroying the city?
When you burn down buildings.
What buildings have been burned down?
In previous riots, do we need to go back to the Summer of Love under George Floyd? What buildings were burned?
We're talking about right now. You said
right now. You're right. They haven't burned any buildings this week. You're right.
So how are they destroying the city? Tell me.
They're obstructing traffic. They're attacking federal agents.
It's a half of a block. That's destroying the city.
Brian, is there any half of a block in the country where you're allowed to engage in lawless behavior? Is there a place? I mean, I know you're in Las Vegas, so I'm sure there might be. But in the rest of the country.
So hold on. Let me just get this right.
Yep.
Antifa right now is, quote unquote, according to you, David, destroying the city of Portland.
Yes.
Because on half a block, they allegedly might be obstructing some traffic. And
allegedly. So you don't agree that that Antifa is obstructing traffic?
Okay, so let's just say that's true. They're obstructing traffic on not even a block, a half a block of Portland. That's destroying the city?
Yeah, in my opinion. They may not be like King Kong stepping over the city and like stomping on buildings. But yeah, they're making Portland, and whether it's right now, it's the protest in front of the ICE facility, but in protests past, there's other parts of the city where Antifa and anarchist elements have been destructive to the city. Yes.
Okay. I'm mesmerized to hear you say that. On a half of a block, you think they're
Is there a half of a block anywhere in the country where Americans are allowed to engage in anarchy?
That doesn't mean the city's being destroyed, David. Okay, that's a little. That's a little.
Fine. I will back off the rhetoric of the city being destroyed and say I'll be very specific, Brian. Antifa and or anarchists and or agitators are making it unsafe in and around the area where the ICE facility is located in Portland. Is that better?
Okay, well, I would think that there are some agitators on the right that are also making it very
They're
unsafe.
not the ones out there chanting and throwing things and having to have the police presence that are there. It's not conservatives that are causing the ruckus down there.
Chanting and throwing things. You don't like that. What about a chant of hanging the vice president? How do you feel about that?
They're chanting to do similar things to President Trump and to Tom Homan and to Nick Sorter and all these other people. Have you heard the things that they're saying out of their megaphone? And they actually have the ability to do it, Brian. They actually have the ability to do it because in Chicago the other day, a woman armed tried to ram federal police and lock them into a corner. Who knows what she was going to do had they not shot her and then she fled. I mean, the violence on the left is getting increasingly more dangerous. And yet politicians on the left say, yeah, we need to tone down the rhetoric, but they condone it. That's way worse than anything said on January 6th. But I don't want to go down this.
So do you think that Democrats were celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk? Do you think
some were, absolutely some were.
Can you name me one elected official that was celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk?
AOC was out there saying.
What did she say?
AOC specifically said that, nobody deserves to die, but the things he said were really divisive.
So there is a difference between I'm going to give you, this is such a ridiculous argument because I did this on Piers Morgan last week. There is a difference between celebrating the death of somebody, which, by the way, you're wrong. AOC did not do that, and not wanting to celebrate somebody's life.
Hold on. With
you're wrong. Tell me what AOC said that, quote, celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk. What you just quoted. She
didn't throw a birthday party with balloons and confetti.
What did she say to celebrate the death? Tell me.
She, through one side of her mouth, says, yeah, this is really bad, and then goes and spews the same rhetoric that caused him to get killed in the first place.
Not liking what somebody said, saying that you don't like somebody for spreading hatred.
Because here's the reality, Brian.
Violence? That's
here's
insane.
The reality, Brian. Here's the reality, Brian. The tone and the rhetoric coming out of the left is inspiring.
Let's
you
talk
can
about
laugh, but it's inspiring people to commit violence. And so what are you going to do about it? As a matter of fact, I'm going to click comments right now. I'm going to click comments. And if you think I'm making this up, let's see what your comments even say right now.
Right now, I'm not concerned about the comments.
I'm just telling you the truth, man.
And I'm just telling you the truth. Donald Trump, at Charlie Kirk's own ceremony and funeral, said he hated half the country. Why don't you ever call out that sort of rhetoric?
No. He said he hates the people that killed Charlie Kirk as political.
No, he didn't say that. That's not true. He said he hated his political opponents.
His enemies.
He said he hated his political opponents.
And what was it? Yes. And that was another thing. And I do not want to get into this because I'm still too annoyed to even debate about it. But that funeral was 4 hours of prayer. Charlie Kirk's wife gets up and Erica Kirk and forgives his killer.
Not talking about
then you guys, no, of course you're not, because instead you're spending hours
talking
about
a
hand-picked phrase to make it look like the left is hateful. Because Brian, here is the reality. And look, we're not going to agree on this and it's fine. Here is the reality. The rhetoric coming out of the left is becoming dangerous and increasingly violent. And every time there's violence, you guys have to pivot and poke and point fingers. But you guys own this, and yet you can't.
Wrong. You just said that there are elected Democrats that have celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. You're lying. Give me an example of an elected Democrat who openly is celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. You're caught in a lie, David.
The death
then give me one quote.
Brian, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Of course, because you can't give me one quote. You're lying.
It's because.
Then give me a quote. Give me a quote.
Brian.
Give me a quote.
Brian, listen, you live in your world. I'll live in mine.
It's not about living in the world.
No, it is. Because in your reality, you can say whatever you want. J.D. Pritzker can say whatever he wants. Gavin Newsom can say whatever he wants. Conservatives can be shot. Conservatives can be rammed with cars. Conservatives can have urine thrown at them and be punched in the face. And then it's just, well, they're antagonizers. Or no Democrat politician is actually calling for all of this. The problem is you guys take zero accountability for your hateful rhetoric. You call people Nazis. I'm telling you. You call people Nazis. You call people communists. You call people a threat to democracy. And then when all of your cult members, you call us cult members, then when your cult members kill people, you take no accountability.
Hold on a second.
Yes.
First of all, I'm not the president of the United States. How many times did Donald Trump call Kamala Harris a fascist when he was running for office?
How many times have Democrats called President Trump a Nazi or a fascist?
Answer the question, okay? I'm not
going to answer the question because these are ridiculous questions.
No, because you don't. You
listen,
refuse.
Brian, here's the reality. Look, we're on different sides of this. I think the people on the left are getting to a dangerous place where federal agents and officers are being attacked. ICE agents are being called fascists.
What happened on
People
January
are hitting them with cars.
What happened on January 6th?
What happened on January 6th?
Were those Antifa? Was that lefties, Democrats, or those
actually? Yes,
defended?
and there were almost 200 FBI agents
Right.
who were seen literally removing window panes from the Capitol. I know what happened on
All right,
January
let's
6th.
ask-
You're
okay,
never going to admit what happened on January
Well,
6th.
it's
It
not
was a
about
giant
admitting,
setup,
okay,
is what happened on January 6th.
again, the
But
courts-
talk to Pam about it.
Okay,
Pam will agree with you. Pam
there's-
will agree with you.
Nothing that was proven in the courts
Yeah.
that to
Sure.
exemplify.
Nothing was proven in the courts.
Okay.
Fine. Let's
The
go with
reason
that
why-
narrative. Just
well,
like
yeah,
the
let's-
2020 election, just like the Russia collusion, let's go with, well, there's no
You're
proof
right.
of it.
Yeah,
So it
you're
didn't
right.
happen.
You're right.
No
Trump
proof.
won the 2020 election. So, David, I'll ask you now for a third time because you brought it up, not me. Okay, you brought it
Then
up.
I got to run, but yes.
Okay, understood. You brought it up, not me.
Yep.
You made the claim that elected Democrats in office
Yes.
are celebrating the death of
Yes.
Charlie Kirk.
Correct.
You didn't make an example of AOC, who you claimed was, which, by the way, she wasn't. She was saying just like what I say. What happened was horrible, but I don't like Charlie Kirk. I don't like what he stood for. I don't think he was a good guy.
Sorry.
There is a difference between celebrating the murder of somebody, which I would never do and no elected Democrat official has done, and saying you don't want to celebrate his life. So I ask you again now for a third time.
Yeah.
Or retract. Name me one elected Democrat that has openly celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk.
What
Is
are
that
you?
claiming?
How are you defining celebrating?
Are you serious?
Yeah. I'm asking you how you're defining celebrating. Like
Saying, I'm happy he died. I'm happy he was murdered.
Yeah.
Thank God for this kid Robinson for doing what he did. Now, give me one
yeah.
quote or
I
one
will-
example.
I don't have any quotes. What I
Of
will
course you
do
don't. Of
after
course you
this, I will research to see if any Democrats specifically said what you highlighted as celebratory language.
Okay.
And if I can't find it, I'll send you a text and you can
Okay.
share it on your show that says
Okay.
David admitted no Democrat celebrated in the words that I used Charlie Kirk's murder.
Okay.
Okay, that's fair.
I
That's
appreciate
fair.
that, but here's what I don't
My
think
point
fair.
is, you can't on one side of your face condemn a murder and then go back to the same rhetoric that led to the murder to begin with. And when words like fascist, anti-fascist,
Which Donald Trump
the
has used
bullet
when he was running
literally
Trump.
said, "Hey, fascist, catch the bullet that
Donald
struck Charlie
Trump,
Kirk."
again,
I'm just telling you,
and
the
I'm just
bullet
telling
that struck
you,
Charlie
and
Kirk
I'm just telling you,
said the exact
and I'm
language
just
that's coming
telling
out
you,
of Democrats'
and I'm
mouths.
just telling you, the leader of your party, Donald Trump, called Kamala Harris a fascist 5 times on the campaign tour,
Yeah.
and you don't want to admit that, but you want to complain
Okay.
about the word fascist.
How
It
many
makes you
how many
hypocrite.
shots were fired at Kamala? Let's see.
How many
Donald Trump
shots?
almost got assassinated.
So you only care
Donald
about
Trump
the
almost got
word
assassinated.
So-
Charlie Kirk was
by a Republican.
assassinated.
By a
ICE
Republican,
agents are being attacked. Kids are being shot in schools.
What
ICE
happened in
actually
Minnesota? What happened in
detainees-
Minnesota?
Yes, exactly.
What
An
happened in
Antifa
Minnesota?
radical shot a Democrat
Not
in
true.
Minnesota. Yeah,
It was not
absolutely
an
true. Look it
Antifa
up.
radical.
Look it up. It's true.
No,
You guys
not
are
an
blaming it on
Antifa
Trump.
radical.
It's false. That's
Okay,
fake
right,
news. It
right.
was a
First
right
of
wing.
all-
It was not a right wing. It was an Antifa extremist who
my
didn't
God.
like her
Okay.
abortion policies.
Okay.
Look
Okay.
it up.
Well, in closing, I'll say this.
Yeah.
The problem I have is when people like you make statements like elected Democrats are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, they are.
And hold on.
Yeah.
And then you're questioned on it, and you can't give me one quote. And
Brian,
you say, well,
God,
let me
you're
on that.
trying to pit me into saying that AOC
I'm not
said,
trying.
"Woo-hoo,
You're doing
I'm
it
happy
yourself.
Charlie's dead." What
You're
I
doing it
said to
yourself.
you in answer to your question is the rhetoric that comes out of their mouths is insensitive to the fact that their rhetoric is what led to Charlie Kirk dying. That is what I said to you. I
So
said you can't go and
22-year-old
pretend you're not
Gotcha.
responsible for your rhetoric. And
Okay.
do you anyway, it's fine.
You think
We're
you
not
should-
going to agree on this.
No,
It's
you
cool.
think you should be responsible for your rhetoric if Donald
Yeah,
Trump
you
didn't
guys
say-
held Donald Trump
Got
responsible
you.
for his
If
rhetoric.
Donald
You
Trump
impeached
really-
him.
how-
You
how-
impeached him and tried to charge him in federal court for his rhetoric.
Well,
Remember?
first of all, he's a 34 count convicted felon, and
Okay,
second of all,
exactly.
if Donald Trump doesn't say the election was stolen, do you think that rhetoric might have contributed to January 6th? Or are
The
you not
election
willing
was
to-
stolen. He's allowed to say the election was
All right,
stolen.
well,
It's his job.
He's allowed to. Okay,
Yeah.
he's allowed to. Well, guess what? Anybody on the left is allowed to say they don't like Charlie Kirk.
Sure. It's right. But
Yeah.
guess what? When people are starting to get shot because of the rhetoric you're using, and then you say, we're not responsible for that. Nobody condones or celebrates the murder.
Uh-huh.
And you go back to the same exact
Yeah.
language and rhetoric that causes this violence.
So
You're
why
still
don't you call
responsible.
out? So why don't you call Donald Trump for calling Kamala Harris a fascist? Then
That's
why
ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So only when the left does it, you want to call it
Yes.
out. But
Yes.
if the right does,
let's just agree on yes. Let's agree with I'm a hypocrite and let's call it a day.
All right. Fair enough, David. All right, I appreciate you coming on. I know you got some other stuff to attend to, so I do
right.
appreciate you coming
Well,
on.
thanks
David.
for having me on as always.
All right, thanks, David.
All
I
right, take
appreciate
care,
it.
brother.
That's David Pollack, everybody. My head's about to spin. My head's about to spin. I don't even know where to start with that conversation, but here's what I will say. There is not one elected Democrat that has celebrated what happened to Charlie Kirk. When David said that, I questioned him and I said, give me one quote. And all he could think of was talking about AOC. And I said, what did she say? And what she said, and he actually was accurate, was, what happened to him was terrible, and I don't condone political violence, but Charlie Kirk was a bad guy, basically. That's not celebrating. And David couldn't come up with any examples. So what David is doing is exactly what he's calling out. Rhetoric that is not true, claiming that Democrats, elected officials, are celebrating what happened to Charlie Kirk. That is a bald-faced lie. Just like the lie being put forth from the right that the reason why we are in this government shutdown is because Democrats want free health care for undocumented immigrants. That is also a lie. Do you see what they do, ladies and gentlemen? I question them. I try to do it respectfully, and they lie. They blame it all on the left. Everything. It's all on the left. Look what was on that bullet. The word fascist. And then when the exact same word Donald Trump used, calling Kamala Harris a fascist. But that's okay. They don't want to talk about that. By the way, the president of the United States and the leader of the Republican Party. Notice how we didn't want to talk about that. They call us fascists. Well, what about Donald Trump, the leader of your party, calling Kamala Harris a fascist? Doesn't want to talk about that. And by the way, calling somebody a fascist is not why a 22-year-old decided to murder Charlie Kirk. And calling somebody a hero in Portland who is nothing more than an agitator, trying to agitate allegedly members of Antifa and pushing females and calling them despicable names, which I've seen on camera, by the way. That's right. Nick Sortor has done that. That's the opposite of a hero. You're an agitator, you're inciting violence, and you're trying to get your videos to go viral or have Donald Trump text you or tweet you, which sadly he did do. It's despicable and it's disgusting. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will be taking your phone calls at 702-221-7283. And I do have some audio that I want to play from you. You're not going to believe it. Mike Johnson saying that the Republican Party is the party of truth. Well, I have something to say in regards to that. We'll play some of that audio for you. You're not going to believe what Pete Hegseth had to say in front of members of the Navy. It is so abundantly disgusting if you want to talk about rhetoric. We'll take a quick break. And we'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. My head is spinning from that David Pollock interview. Wow, mesmerizing stuff. Quick programming note for you. Speaking of right-wingers, a guy by the name of Will Chamberlain. I've gotten into debates with him before. He's agreed to join us on the program tomorrow for an epic debate. I'm sure it will. Will Chamberlain joining us on the program tomorrow. Also, Midas Touch's very own Ron Filipkowski will be joining us on the show tomorrow, so you're certainly going to want to tune in tomorrow for that. We've been talking a little bit about what's taken place in Portland. We had Pam Hemphill on the show. She's been in Portland, eyewitness to what's taken place. She said what I already knew. Nick Sortor is nothing more than a right-wing agitator looking to get viral, calling women some horrible names, agitating and inciting violence. I'm glad he was arrested. But the right will look him out to be as some sort of hero. Katie Davenport says she doesn't want to play the victim and she doesn't want attention. Yet she's been showing that shiner on her eye on basically every right-wing network, trying to get as much attention as she can. Because this is what they do. They go to these places, they agitate, and they incite. And then they wonder why somebody gives them a little shove. I don't condone violence, but that's what they are asking for, ladies and gentlemen. And while all this is going on, Mike Johnson is lying to the American people once again, as he does every single day. Mike Johnson says that they are the party of truth. Now, obviously, I disagree with this, but this is what Mike Johnson and his word salad had to say earlier today about the Republican Party in regards to this government shutdown.
I say the same things privately that I say publicly. We are consistent, and that's why it's easy for me to stand up here and share the facts. When the simple truth is on your side, you have nothing to hide from. I'm just presenting this to the American people. This is the fourth time we've done that. I hate to drag you all out and go through all the details, but I've got to put on the case over and over because repetition apparently is the key to this. People are starting to recognize this is not a Republican shutdown. It is a Schumer Democrat shutdown. Again, why? Because they needed political cover. It's shameless, it is sad, real people are hurting, and it needs to end. They'll have another opportunity this evening, and I sure pray, and I hope you all will, that a handful of additional common sense people on the Democrat side will change their votes, reopen the government, so we can get back to all these issues as we desperately want to do.
How Christian of Mike Johnson to lie to the American people. Now, let me set the record straight and give you guys the truth of what Mike Johnson and Republicans are doing. First of all, Mike Johnson wants to triple your health care costs. Just look at the paper, ladies and gentlemen. Look at what they are trying to do to the country. Mike Johnson wants to triple your health care costs. Mike Johnson literally wants to rip health care away from 20 million people. It's all in the big, awful bill. Mike Johnson's shutdown will cost the American people billions of dollars. Mike Johnson is pathetic. Yet Mike Johnson will continue to block a Democrat congresswoman from getting sworn in so that no one can learn the truth about Trump and Epstein. Mike Johnson is the opposite of truth. He is a liar. And they're the ones who want to talk about poor Democrat messaging. Have a listen to this.
So they created a red herring. A red herring is a distraction. They decided that they would pick a fight on health care. Well, let me look right into the camera and tell you very clearly, Republicans are the ones concerned about health care. Republicans are the party working around the clock every day to fix health care. This is not talking points for us. We've done it. A big part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, was to fix health care. Health care is broken in America. It's too expensive. The quality of care needs to rise. We need more access for more people, and we have lots of ideas to do that. But that issue is for debate in the next 3 months. It always was. We have members working on that.
Yeah, that's why you told all your quote-unquote Republican members to stay on vacation over the course of the last week. What a liar. And then Mike Johnson's appearance on some of the networks asked who will own the political impact if health insurance goes up over 200%. By the way, I've heard it'll go up a lot more than 200%. And Mike Johnson does not want to answer the question.
Jake.
Who will own, if you're not able to extend these subsidies, which is a possibility, it seems, who will own the political impact from that if health insurance does go up 200%?
That's putting the cart like a mile in front of the horse. I believe that the subsidy issue, that's the December 31 issue, is a complicated one. It hasn't worked well. It's filled with abuse. We have a lot of ideas on how to improve upon that if indeed it goes forward. And I mentioned yesterday, there's 535 members when you count House and Senate, and there's probably 400 different ideas on how to fix that. But we need the next couple of weeks to have those vigorous, deliberate debates, which is how the process is supposed to work. So I'm not going to forecast how that comes out, and neither could any of you, because those debates haven't been held yet. And that's kind of the irony, because Chuck Schumer is saying something that he knows isn't true. He's saying, oh, you guys snap your fingers. You and Leader Thune go in the back room and tell us how that's going to be resolved today so we can reopen the government. That's impossible for me to do. I have to have the input of all of our members so that they can figure that out. So that's part of the process.
What a bumbling word salad liar. First of all, everything in the so-called big and beautiful bill, everything goes as planned for MAGA Republicans, and Project 2025 will tell you that, yes, health insurance will go up over 200%. It is undeniable that over 15 to 20 million Americans are going to lose their health care coverage. But when Mike Johnson is asked the obvious, instead of owning it, he says, that's putting the cart like a mile in front of the horse. No, it's not. It's exactly what is going to happen if Democrats don't continue to fight. And he is a liar. And while all this is going on over the weekend, Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump spoke in front of members of the Navy. And I want you to listen to what Pete Hegseth said, because this is so utterly despicable. But this is who the Secretary of Defense is. Listen to what Pete Hegseth had to say in front of these brave men and women of the Navy. Listen to this.
Your diversity is not your strength. Your strength is your unity of purpose, your shared mission, your love of country.
Let me be very clear. One of the things, in my opinion, that makes America great is our diversity. The fact that we have people all over the world that come to this country and they want a better life for themselves and their families. And they work hard. That's what makes America so great. But if you're Pete Hegseth speaking in front of the Navy, and I would imagine many people in the audience, minorities and people that had to work really hard, maybe even harder than the average American to get to where they are. And you have somebody like Pete Hegseth who has a tattoo that says 100% white on his chest, who says in front of the Navy, your diversity is not your strength. Well, I can see why somebody like Pete Hegseth would say something like that, because in a perfect world, he would want everybody white to be serving this country. And then you want to talk about a complete disgrace. Let's talk about the President of the United States. Listen to what Donald Trump had to say in front of active duty military over the weekend.
But we have to take care of this little gnat that's on our shoulder called the Democrats. They want to give all of our money to illegal aliens that pour into the country. And, you know, I have a bigger heart than they do. But the problem is when you do that, they come in by the millions. Everybody wants that, so you can't do it.
You want to talk about the President of the United States speaking in front of active duty military talking like that. What an effing disgrace any president would be to speak like that. But shouldn't we expect it from Donald Trump? We hear it every single day. He never respected apolitical military tradition. Never. And what's even more despicable, in my personal opinion, is the silence from Republicans and veterans that are in Congress right now. It's utterly despicable, the silence that we hear. Anybody else, that's all they'd be talking about it. But if Donald Trump talks like that in front of our active military members, you can hear a pin drop. And the part of this speech that angered me the most was when Donald Trump started talking about Vietnam. Keep in mind, he faked his bone spurs so he didn't have to serve. And now he's speaking in front of active duty military members about Vietnam. Have a listen to this.
Deployed a brand new unit, the Navy SEALs, to tear up Mekong River Delta. Problem with Vietnam, we stopped fighting to win. We would have won easy. We would have won Afghanistan easy. Would have won every war easy. But we got politically correct. Let's take it easy. We're not politically correct anymore, just so you understand. We win. Now we win.
Interesting, isn't it? The guy who's talking about the problem with Vietnam is the guy who dodged the military multiple times. He could have fought. He could have made a difference. But he faked his little bone spurs so he didn't have to go. So what happened was somebody else had to go in Donald Trump's place. And I would be willing to argue most likely that would be a working class kid whose dad couldn't afford to bribe a doctor in the way that Fred Trump was able to do. And how do we know this? Because the doctor's own daughters talked about it. And now he's trying to talk in front of our brave men and women in uniform about how it should have been fought, when he's the guy who dodged the military himself because his daddy was able to bribe a doctor. Folks, you cannot make this stuff up. It is despicable. It is disgusting that somehow this guy became the president of the United States. Bone Spurs himself. And he's preaching to our brave men and women in that room about how the war should have been fought differently when he's the one who dodged it himself based on a lie. The number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. That number is 702-221-SAVE. And MAGA callers are always welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that's right. Let's start off with Aaron. Aaron is first up on PTL. Hello, Aaron.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, here's actually what's on my mind. With all this crap going on with ICE, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's all these immigrants and support them. I noticed a pretty trend there. There's not arresting anyone like Russia Mafia who does sex trade and drugs. You know, they're only focused on people of color, immigrants. You know, just trying to say, how come they're not? Are they afraid of people like in the Russia Mafia or something?
Well, I think it's a very good point that you raise, and make no mistake about it. If you listen to Pete Hegseth and many on the far right, they go after the trans community. They're obsessed with what is between your legs. And I think in a perfect world, they certainly don't respect people that are willing to risk their life for this country. The opposite of Donald Trump, by the way, and they obsess over what the color of their skin is, and they obsess over what's between their legs. I mean, they prove that every single day. Just look at Pete Hegseth's comments over the weekend.
Exactly, you know, and like I'm a man of color. I'm First Nations, and I'm also formerly in law enforcement. I can't do it because of my PTSD, but watching these guys, they're a joke. You know, they got no real training on how to handle shit. Oh, excuse my language. I know you're on the air.
Watch the language. Yep. Okay. You're right, my friend. I appreciate you, and I don't disagree with you at all. They obsess over what's between your legs. And I personally could care less. So long as you're willing to serve this country and risk your life, you're a hero. I don't care what's between your legs. I don't care what the color of your skin is. But unfortunately, MAGA obsessed over this. 702-221-SAVE. Again, if you're a MAGA supporter, you're welcome to call in. Tell me where you disagree with me on, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Let's go to Scott. Scott is next up on PTL. Hey, Scott, what's going on? Hi, Scott.
Good. I'm doing all right. I survived my colonoscopy.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Anyway,
Okay.
the only way Donald Trump has a bigger heart than anyone is because it's an enlarged heart because he's a fat pig who eats a lot of fast food. Anyway, yeah, this whole topic pisses me off because they call us names, they do what they do, then they want us to just go, you know, we'll take it because we're the bigger, better party. We want to act better. I'm tired of it. I think they could all go to hell if they want to live in a delusional bubble. You remind them next time when someone shoots a synagogue or what the right does. Like we'll rough you up a little, but they shoot people.
Thoughts and prayers.
Screw your thoughts and prayers.
Yep.
Screw your fake God and your fake religion and your fake idol, because now they pray to Donald Trump. They don't pray to God. God said, don't put anyone before me. And they put Donald Trump before them. So I don't believe in God. I'll meet them in hell if hell is real. And we'll have a party down there, except I still might not like them. But
well, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, my friend. I appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. As I'm sweating in studio, it's like 110 degrees in here. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Maybe it was that heated debate I had with David Pollack. Maybe that's what did it. Who are we going to next here? Let's go to Rita. Rita is next up on PTL. Hi, Rita.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, what's on your mind?
Well, I was just calling because they keep saying that the left is violent. Mm-hmm. And what about the Trump appointed judge whose home was just burnt down in South Carolina?
They don't want to talk about that. And they don't want to talk about the Democrat elected official in Minnesota that was executed, her and her husband. They don't want to talk about the fact that the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, at least the first one, was executed by a young 20-something-year-old who was a registered Republican, whose families are Republican. They don't want to talk about the guy who went into that church and started executing innocent people that was a staunch Donald Trump supporter. They don't want to talk about January 6th and the fact that their Sir Orange leader is the one who absolutely incited what took place on January 6th. They don't want to talk about any of these things.
Right. They just want to blame us, where we're not the violent ones, actually. We're not the ones doing anything. It's all coming from them because it's all proven. Everything is coming from them. And they just want to, pivot to us. They want to pivot everything to us just to, cover up for the Epstein files. Release the files, damn it.
They
we
won't
don't care if it's
He
on
won't.
our
He
side
won't.
or their side.
Listen, the reason why Kash Patel wouldn't answer a question under oath 7 times, which was, did you tell Pam Bondi that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? The reason why he refused to answer that question, because we know what the answer is. It is a huge cover-up. It continues to be a huge cover-up. And this story will not go away. It will not go away. At least I will continue to be discussing it. And it's sickening. It's sickening what Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump, the statements that they made in front of the Navy over the weekend. It is absolutely unhinged and just disrespectful. And it's an abomination. And unfortunately, Rita, it's not going to get any better, because it's going to get worse before it gets better, because this is what we're facing here over the course of the next 3 years. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. Hi, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, Mark. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just want to mention 2 things. The first thing is Rev Parnas and Malcolm had made some comments about what happened actually when those 800 officers and the high-ranking enlisted showed up for that meeting. Mm-hmm. Each officer and high-ranking enlisted in there had their facial recognition put on a computer. And what's going to happen is they are going to each be given lie detector tests. Now, this is coming from people who know inside staffers.
Right.
And if they fail the lie detector test, their careers are ended.
I read that as well. I read that as well. Let me tell you something. There's nothing.
I have one more thing.
Yeah, I got you. There's nothing that I would rather have than Donald Trump on a lie detector test. I would have a lot of questions that I would like to ask him and Pete Hegseth. So if there's anybody that should be sitting there with a lie detector test, it starts with Donald Trump all the way down. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, but that's neither here or there. It's because they're purging the military, and they will go after civilians in the street. Don't think not that's not going to happen. And because they also fired all the adjutant generals for the Uniform Code of Military Justice, they're all gone. So they're not going to be prosecuted if they obey unlawful orders. The second thing is, make no mistake, the longer this goes on, Brian, with these shutdowns, the more that the Democrats are going to be blamed. And I'm telling you, they're going to fold because the Republicans don't care, and it's not really about health care. They're making you think it is. It's not really about that. It's about not swearing in that Congresswoman,
right?
And it's about not releasing the Epstein files. Make no mistake. And one more thing, I have a bone to pick with you, Brian. Stop calling Antifa members. We are all Antifa. That means if you're against fascism, you're Antifa. We don't belong to an organization. It's our belief that we're against Antifa, fascism.
Okay. I mean, I don't go to these events, dressed up in some of the getup that they're dressed up in. And I don't, quite frankly, that's just not me. That's not what I would do, but I think that's here nor there. I appreciate the phone call. I do want to go to the YouTube super chat if I may. Let's go to Christina. Thank you, Christina, who says, my mom got me hooked on your show. Listening reminds me that like-minded, amazing people who care for humanity still exist. It's easy to forget when you're surrounded by MAGA in South Alabama. Well, Christina, I really do appreciate that. That really means a lot to me. And thank your mom for me for getting you hooked on the show. I appreciate you and your kind words and your support. The Weirdo says, I call them clout chasers. Reporters do not inject themselves into the story. It's the Steven Crowder effect. He made himself famous getting punched by a Teamster at a right to work protest. That's also true. And did you see the video of Steven Crowder and the video of him that came out with his ex-wife who was pregnant? I mean, just utterly, these people are utterly despicable. Scott says, come on, Brian, you'd be ripping this guy's face off if he was a caller. I think he's referring to David Pollock. Maxine says, please, saying CK's name, he needs to be forgotten. Lori says, Brian, I heard that there is no Antifa group. I won't be surprised that the Republicans will be on vacation for the next 3 years. Scary. Well, Lori, you're right about that. J Panda TV says both sides are not the same. The left has frog costume man against fascism, while the right bombs homes. Well, listen, I agree with you. By the way, I will say that that frog in Portland was quite funny. I did enjoy that very much. Let's go to our favorite listener in the UK. We love it when Paul calls in. Paul, thank you so much for calling in. What's on your mind today?
Oh, hi there, Brian. Yeah, I'm listening to the debate, especially with the first guy, with Pollock you had.
Yep.
And I always try and challenge myself. I always say to myself, suppose I'm wrong. Suppose I'm in a media bubble. And all the things he said were true. I always question this. But then, thinking it through, I think, yeah, let's say it's 50-50. I don't think it is, of course. Imagine it's 50-50. There's one thing that's irrefutable. All this division, all this violence, didn't start until Trump put his fat ass inside the Oval Office. So whether you're on the left or the right, and the left blame the right blame the left, was one thing we do know. Before that guy came, things were okay. They were normal politics, aggressive, debating, and so on and so forth, the way it should be. He comes along, and it all goes to hell. And that's the one thing that's irrefutable. That's the one thing that leads me to believe I got it right.
Yeah. Well, certainly there's a lot of people that got it wrong in the United States of America, 17 million of them. I don't know. But there's a lot of people that got it wrong in this country who voted for Donald Trump. And unfortunately, many of them still will not admit to it. And I don't know, Paul, did you hear the audio I played of the statements that some of the statements that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth made in front of our brave Navy members? I mean, utterly despicable.
Horrific.
Yeah.
Just horrific. And I don't know whether it's filtered through on you, but there's been a pushback from the military. I can't remember which state it was, but the National Guard refused to actually go in on Donald Trump's orders based on it being an illegal order. It's going to be quite a big thing.
And now Gavin Newsom Gavin Newsom is suing, apparently, and Trump is calling in the National Guard to go to Portland. He's calling in the National Guard, of course, in Chicago. Keep in mind, in Portland, maybe 100 to 200 yards of people in that city that are protesting, mostly peacefully. But yet Donald Trump wants to bring in the National Guard, and you have a bunch of right-wing agitators that are there that are trying to become famous and let their videos go viral, claiming that Antifa, they're all there, they're violent, they're doing this, they're doing that. I've seen people on the right that are just agitating and asking for it. That's what I've seen.
These people, they're so ill-informed people. First thing I did was went onto Google Earth and looked at pictures of Portland. And it looked like I want to visit there. It looked like a national park with streets.
Yeah.
And yet these people, these magaloons, I call them, they haven't got the common sense to investigate some of this stuff. Just search it. Trump's there calling it a war zone. I can imagine what a war zone would look like. I've seen, I've got a bit of history.
Think about this. Less than a half a block of mostly peaceful protesters, and Donald Trump is calling it a war zone. Yet we had over 1,500 people, half of them committing very violent crimes on January 6th, and Republicans called that a tourist visit. Think about that for a minute.
I mean, I listened to one of your callers, actually, Brian, a young man who wants to be, who's MAGA, but wants to be president, a black man, very intelligent, always came across very intelligent, and he swore to you that he never saw any violence at J6.
Yeah, I remember that. Just ridiculous.
And I don't know whether you remember, but you were going to send in the video, and I thought, is he lying?
Yeah, he is.
Is the media bubble so tight that he really believes
you have to be lying?
Saw?
If you follow politics at all,
I think
Paul, it has to be, Paul. And I thank you for the call. If you follow politics at all, even if you don't follow politics, and you didn't see any of the video of violence that took place on January 6th, you have to be a liar. Thank you for the call, Paul. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Brett. Brett is next up on PTL. Hey, Brett, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Brian?
Hey.
Hold on, I got to shut the radio off real quick.
Okay.
Hey, what's up? I just wanted to say, you guys were talking about Antifa. I'm sorry I'm winded. I'm doing yard work, listening to the show, but...
you sound like Donald Trump 13 seconds after Stormy Daniels. That's what you sound. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
probably
I'm sorry.
left. But, as far as this Antifa, like, they have no home base of record, right?
That's true. I mean, listen, there are people that call in that say, don't call it an organization, don't call it this. Okay, I really don't care. You have people that...
no, I don't care either. The
Yeah.
point is that they keep talking about this Antifa, and without a home base, without a recognizable leader, what are you? You're nothing but, like, internet trolls. Okay, so there's nothing to this. To act like that they're the equivalent of the Proud Boys or any of these other right-wing groups that are committing acts of violence, I couldn't tell you one member or anybody that was, anybody of any significance that was ever a member of Antifa. So what is it?
Here's what I'll say to that, though, and you can tell me whether you disagree or not. If you're one of those people that wants to peacefully protest out there in Portland, don't wear something over your face. Let us see who you are. Don't look like these morons in ICE all over the country. Let's see who you are, because I don't think you're doing anything wrong. You should be proud to show your face, right? I don't understand why they wear the scarves over their face and stuff. There's nothing wrong with fighting for democracy. There's nothing wrong with fighting evil. I commend anybody who's willing to do that.
Brian, they're not those people that are covering their face and that were doing that during the Black Lives Matter protest that were supposedly committing all the violence. They're covering their face because they're agitators. They're there. They're opportunists that are looking to steal or do something nefarious for their own reasons. It has nothing to do with any kind of movement. That's a reason that they cover their face.
Well, I certainly agree
with that. They don't want to be caught by law enforcement.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you there, my friend, and I appreciate the call. If you're willing to stand up for what's right and you're confident in your feelings or your beliefs, you won't have a scarf or something over your face. I don't really understand that. Make no mistake about it. The reason why things have gotten to where they are in Portland, and at times the reason why there has been some pushing and shoving, is because there are right-wing agitators there that are looking to become famous. People out there like the Katie Daviscorts of the world, who, by the way, is not a victim, or people like Nick Sortor, who is not a victim. They're the opposite of victims. They want chaos. And God forbid if somebody on the other side grabs their hat and throws it at them, they make it like it was a full-on assault. These people are so pathetic. They're so ridiculous. And the right calls them heroes. They're the opposite of heroes. They're agitators wanting bad things to happen. 702-221-7283. They're no more of a hero than Kyle Rittenhouse is. Let's go to John. John is next on PTL. Hey, John, what's up?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Good.
Happy October.
Thank you.
And I don't know how long it's going to take or what, but one day this Trump dictatorship is going to finally end, and there are a lot of people that are going to have to face the consequences. A lot of people are going to go to jail. You've got congressional Republicans, you got Scump and his administration, you got the Supreme Court conservatives. They're all letting this happen. They all could put an end to it, but they refuse to do so. And a lot of people are going to go to jail. It's just unfortunate that by the time that happens, a lot more damage is going to be done. I just wish it could be sooner, but eventually the chickens will come home to roost, and a lot of people are going to pay the price. They're going to have to face the consequences.
Yeah. I've said, my friend, well said. I've said, my friend, that let's just say, hypothetically speaking, the presidential elections were held tomorrow, which I wish they were. Let's just say a Democrat won. It'd still take decades to clean up what the damage that Donald Trump has done to this country and his administration. This isn't going to be an overnight thing. It starts with the midterms. Then we go to the 2028 presidential elections. The damage that Donald Trump is doing to this country every day will take decades to recover from, maybe more. I wish I had better news for you guys, but I don't. MAGA, always welcome to call in, even though sometimes they're a little scared to do so, which I understand. I'd be scared too if I had the beliefs that they had. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. Hey, Dave, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, Brian? How you doing?
Good.
Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
All right. So, for one thing, I'm not going to interject what the other guy says, and that's not what I called about regarding to the reason why they don't want to show us their faces and they wear those masks. I'll tell you really the real reason, people. The real reason is that job that they're doing right now may not be long-term, it may be short-term. And another thing also, if their employer found out that they were doing this kind of crap, you know, they would be fired. And it would be difficult for them to get another job because they may not agree what they're doing. Yeah. So that's the only reason why they're protecting themselves from not either losing their job from their employer and they're doing this on the side, or they're afraid to show their face and try, and they may not get hired again on another job. That's the reason why.
What are the odds that Dean Cain and Chachi are out there with, what are the chances? I think there's a pretty good chance.
Yeah, I understand.
James
but
Woods.
Here's my point. But my point, what I'm trying to make, if I can, I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. I've donated a lot of stuff with you, and I always do. But, I'm going to make sorry. March 23rd, 2010, you know what that was, right? That was the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act that Barack Obama enhanced the two parts, which is the second part of the, Healthcare and Education Reconciliation Act. So that was basically signed on March 30th, 2010. So this Affordable Care Act has been going on since 15 years now? So it's been doing a good job. It's been helping a lot of jobs. So my point, what I'm going to make is I want to make sure I get this clear. No, people, if you want to go into AI overview and read all the stuff and so forth, no, the ACA marketplace undocumented immigrants are not eligible for market plans or premium taxes, Medicaid chips. They are not eligible for these federal funded insurance programs. But what they may qualify is for state treatment or Labor Act, which is either, for the emergency medical treatment, they can get that. And regardless of immigration status, they will also get, some, this is only on a state by state, basis.
No, I get that.
On a state by,
I totally.
So I want to make sure people understand that it's only on a state by state basis.
Absolutely. It's state by state. I'm actually glad you made that point. And listen, Dave, I know you and I are on the same side here when it comes to this. I don't care whether you're undocumented. I don't care where you're from. For God's sakes, if you need life-saving care and you're in the ER, it is un-American for any doctor to ask you for your paperwork. The first thing you should be doing is trying to save their life. And I know the overwhelming majority of doctors and people who work in hospitals in this country are on my side on this one because they're heroes and they're compassionate people and they save lives every day. And I have the utmost respect for them. But these MAGA buffoons in Washington, D.C., they might not say it out loud. They certainly won't answer the question, but they don't believe that if you're undocumented, that you should get life-saving care. Shame on them. They're despicable. What type of country are we living in? 702-221-7283. Let's go to X. X is next up on PTL. Hello, X.
Hello, Brian. How are you doing?
Good. What's on your mind today?
What I wanted to ask you was, normally the party that's in power, ends up doing pretty bad in the midterm. So what I wanted to ask you was, if that's the case, why is, when I'm looking at data and research, you could check it up too, if you want, you could fact check me, tomorrow or any other day. Why is the Pennsylvania registration, why is, Arizona registration, 430,000, extra registered Republicans, what I'm really saying is Arizona, Pennsylvania. Why is the GOP having a field day when it comes to registration?
Why is the GOP having a field day when it comes to registration? What do you mean by that?
What I'm saying is check it out. Arizona has almost 400,000 extra Republican registered now. Arizona's it's not even it's like kind of like a lean R state now. Like, and Pennsylvania is like, shifting more to the right too. Like, registration. Like, you can check it in 2025. Like, they have the registration.
I can't. So X, I can't speak to why a certain number of Republicans or Democrats are registering in certain states. I can tell you that Donald Trump certainly has gotten a lot more people involved in politics. I would say a lot of the wrong people. I would use Charlie Kirk as an example of that as well. And younger people getting brainwashed by his hateful rhetoric that he used. That's the only thing I can really speak to that, is that Donald Trump has gotten a lot more people involved in politics that normally were not involved. He sees it more as a reality show, more than anything else. And he cares about ratings and all this other stuff. But
what I could tell you is for in the 2028, when it comes to election time and stuff like that, what I'm saying is even if for example, if the president seems like it's out of reach and it's going to be MAGA, we could at least slow the agenda down if you win the midterms. For example, win a House majority and get a divided.
You think Republicans are going to win the midterms? You think they'll have a good midterm? Is that what you think?
Based on registration and
well,
stuff
let's
like
forget
that,
about but let's forget about registration for a moment. Let's look at the first 7-8 months of Donald Trump's term. What has he done good?
What I'm saying is so far things are just getting rougher and rougher, and things are getting more expensive. But of course,
but X, slow down. Hold on.
Down to Virginia and New Jersey.
X, hold on. X, let's try to slow down. X, let's try to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
In the first 7 or 8 months of Donald Trump's administration, what has he done well?
What has he done good? The only one of the few bills that I actually agree with is the Lincoln Riley Act.
I'm sorry, the what? Can you repeat that?
The Lincoln Riley Act.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you a question. And obviously we agree on this. Obviously anybody, whether you're undocumented or not, anybody who commits a heinous crime like that should be put away for the rest of their life. And it's horrible. And we don't want people
the Lincoln Riley won bipartisan support. That would be one bipartisan.
Well, I think it's a pretty logical thing, and both sides should support that. But why is it that when Donald Trump was president first go around, he didn't talk about people who were brutal victims of crimes by undocumented immigrants? I'm just curious, because you do understand that did happen under Donald Trump's first administration, right? And he hangs up the phone. Okay. Thank you for the call, X. I appreciate it. So you want to talk about the Lincoln Riley Act, and you can tell me that's the first thing that comes to mind. By the way, if you're an American citizen, there's a better chance that you could be the victim of a crime from an American citizen than you do from somebody that is an undocumented immigrant. And no, I'm not too worried about overwhelming majority of people that are in this country that are undocumented. They want a better life for themselves and their families. And if one person commits a heinous crime, they like to paint all people that are undocumented in this country as murderers. And guess what? I refuse to do that because it's a joke. I don't know why you hung up the phone, X, because I think that could have been a very good. I really wanted to figure out what Donald Trump has done so well that you think that the midterms are going to go so well for Republicans, because I couldn't disagree with you more on that one. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Tez. Tez is next up on PTL. Hello, Tez.
Good day, Brian. Lots of low-hanging fruit once again, my friend.
Yep, for sure.
Let's put the fascist argument to rest real quick. I'm going to present the possibility, and you tell me whether you think the current president qualifies.
Okay,
ready?
Sure.
Strong, charismatic leader portrayed as infallible and central to national redemption. Check?
Yeah, for sure.
Number 2. Nation glorified above all, often tied to racial or ethnic purity and historic greatness.
Yep, 100%.
Almost verbatim,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
Scapegoating and division. Minority groups, immigrants, or political opponents are blamed for social problems, creating a unified enemy.
They do it every day.
So if and I could continue, I don't want to take up the airtime because I love you guys. If you go down the list, and just authoritarianism is tendencies by an individual. And if you just go to your Grok or go to your AI computer, this president checks all the boxes. So do his minions. It's real easy to see. I know you like to have a fair and balanced show, but I could see you were kind of frustrated because your guest started out like he was going to be logical and then quickly started to contort himself when the questions became difficult for him to answer. But bravo, my friend. I'll call you again soon. Love you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate that call.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you. 702-221-7283. That's Mr. Numchuck to you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Eddie. Eddie is next up on PTL. What's up, Eddie?
702-221.
Eddie, go ahead.
Hey.
Lower your radio if you
Yeah.
can, my friend, because we got a little bit of a...
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. Couple of things. First, your caller from the UK, he was talking about how about a state that had some issues with their National Guard going into, I think it was going into Chicago.
Yeah.
That was Illinois. Apparently, the latest news that I heard just a little while ago is the Illinois National Guard has declined Trump's order, has refused Trump's order to go into Chicago because they are going to because it's going against the mayor as well as the governor of Chicago.
Correct. Yep.
Or excuse me, the governor of Illinois.
Yep.
So the military is starting to see. I don't want to say see the light, but it's a good idea. That's a good thing.
Did you ever think that? Did you ever think that in our lifetime, the president of the United States would say it's a great opportunity for our military to train on the job going after other American civilians in the United States of America? Did you ever think in our lifetime we would have a president that would talk like that?
No, I didn't. I do not. And as a Navy veteran, it really worries me that we have a president right now that sees American citizens as the quote unquote enemy within.
Not only that, I want to ask you, and thank you for your service, by the way, as a Navy veteran. What do you make of Pete Hegseth speaking in front of the Navy over the weekend saying your diversity is not your strength? I mean, what would have gone through your head if you saw the defense secretary, the department, making a statement like that when you were in the Navy?
I would have thought the man was an idiot.
Yeah.
Because diversity in the military is a strength of the military. Because we get, you have everybody from different aspects of life in the United States that are that join the military for whatever reason. I mean, some join for educational purposes, some want to join for to travel and see the world. But they all raised their right hand. We all raised our right hand and swore an oath to the Constitution to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. So we have there is a common goal, and that is to support the Constitution of the United States.
Which Donald Trump is not doing. We all know that, right, my friend? Which Donald Trump is doing the opposite of that. And I thank people like you who risked everything to serve this country honorably. And I'm honored that people like you listen to this show, my friend, and I'll always have your back. Always. Always. And you will always have a voice on this show. And I appreciate your service to this great country, sir. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. Going back to the YouTube super chat, Lori says, Trump will pardon all of them. That's why they're doing it. Like Steve Miller, please don't retaliate because he wants to make martial law. Well, Stephen Miller's the worst. I mean, I hope one day in my lifetime, Stephen Miller goes to jail. I mean, he is just, I couldn't think of really a more despicable individual than Stephen Miller. So I'm with you, Lori, on that 150%. Let's go to Carl. Carl is next up on PTL. Hey, Carl, what's up? Hi, Carl.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, Carl. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. You got me on?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Oh, good. Listen, before I tell you what I want, you mentioned about putting Trump, you'd like to on a lie detector machine.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, they don't build one that wouldn't explode as soon as he's hooked up, so that would never work.
That's true.
The machine would completely explode.
That's true.
But what I want to talk about is last week he brought together, as you know, all the generals and heads of the services from around the world and gave them what you'd call a warning. It's basically, if you don't applaud or laugh at what I say, or if you get up and leave the room, you're going to be discharged from the service, lose your rank, and so forth. Well, what interested me in that is I studied before, around 1938 or 39, I saw the films. Adolf Hitler had a meeting with all his top, before the war really broke big, he meeting with all his generals and admirals and whatever, and basically said the same thing. What I say goes, And if you disobey, unfortunately, worse is going to happen to you. So I think Trump got the idea from that.
Yeah, as you know, Carl, Donald Trump, at least in my personal opinion, has looked up to evil dictators. Whether we go back in the days of Germany, or we go to a Kim Jong-un or a Vladimir Putin, for whatever reason, Donald Trump is a wannabe dictator who's running an oligarchy. That is the way he is running his office. He started doing it in the first term. He's doing it in the second term. And Stephen Miller is exactly the playbook of what Donald Trump has been trying to do to this country. So I completely agree with you, Carl. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ann. Ann is next up on PTL. Hello, Ann.
Yes, hello. How are you today?
Hi, good. What's on your mind today, Ann?
My family member is the judge that was in South Carolina that the house caught fire.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry to hear that. What is your relation to the judge where this happened?
Sister-in-law.
That's your sister-in-law. Oh my goodness gracious.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you learned about this in the last several days?
Well, I've learned that they are definitely investigating it as arson.
Mm-hmm.
The grandsons, one of them that jumped from the second-story window, he broke his back.
Mm.
They're not releasing a lot because they're underage. He's only 13, so I'm not saying any names. And then also Barney, which is Arnold, the one that used to be a senator.
Right.
He jumped out after getting them out of the house, and he's got his hip broken.
Oh, geez.
His legs and feet are basically crushed.
I am so sorry to hear that. This is such an awful story. And let me ask you this. Why do you think Fox News and OAN and Newsmax and so many of the right-wing entities are not really talking or covering this story?
Well, I guess we can all answer that very easily.
Yeah.
Because they don't want it to turn around and say, oh, it was the righties that did it. But,
right.
For her to have, blocked what she did in her right. I mean, nobody has any business with our personal voter information. And for her to block that, I think it was September 2nd when she did it. And then they overturned it. But then you've got, who was the guy that put out the tweet? Oh, I can't think of his name. The one that just put out the tweet, Trump's guy.
There's plenty of them, unfortunately. Stephen Miller in his administration?
Yes. Yes. Tim Miller? Is that what you said?
Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller, the one with the big head.
Does Stephen Miller have a big... Tom Homan? I don't know. Who has a big head in Donald Trump's office?
I'm sorry. I should have said that. But, yeah.
Okay.
So, with that being said, it happens the day after that, after you're calling them lunatic leftists.
Right.
And then the house burns down. I mean...
So horrible.
It is. And another thing that you haven't heard, well, I haven't seen it online. I've been doing a little research here and there, but I've tried to, I'm not trying to put it out there that I'm family because you don't know what the hell might happen.
Right, of course.
But, yeah. So,
how is she doing, by the way?
She's doing okay. Mentally, she's just distraught. But I think it's either that or it could be a hate crime because she is Jewish.
It could be a number of different things. It could just be some lunatic on the far right that just didn't like the way she ruled, as you mentioned. It could be her religion. It could be anything. But here's what we know for sure. The right does not want to talk about this story because it doesn't fit their narrative that it's, as Donald Trump would say, the radical left that is causing all this violence in this country. I'm so sorry to your sister-in-laws and her family that should never have to have gone through this. It's horrible. It's disgusting. And what have they found the person who did this?
No, and like I said, they don't have. They're not saying a whole lot right now at this moment, and she's not talking on the phone to anybody because she's really worried that things can be tapped. There's a lot of things that's going on.
Sure.
And
why is Donald Trump not bringing this up? It's interesting, right? Correct me if you think I'm wrong. If this was like a right-leaning judge, and this had happened under the Biden administration, Biden would have been the first person to call it out and say, this is wrong. We can't condone this. Why is it that the left always has to call it out, which, by the way, they should. And then Donald Trump doesn't even bring it up. He doesn't even talk about it. The right won't even bring it up.
Well, that's because his ass probably had something to do with it. I mean,
you never know. Listen, you never know with this administration, my dear. Well, thoughts to your sister-in-law and her family. Nobody deserves this. And
well, I'm a big fan of yours, and I listen in all the time.
Well,
and
thank you.
I said, you know what? I'm going to go on YouTube because I usually watch through X.
Well, that means a lot.
And I'm
Thank
like,
you.
I've got to call in.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you doing that. And by the way, if your sister-in-law would ever want to come on and talk to us, I would be just shoot me an email, and I'd be more than glad to talk to her. I know now it's not
Most definitely. I'm sure it won't be anytime soon, but
sure,
most definitely.
understandable. Well, thoughts to your family, and we hope they get through this okay. And I do appreciate you calling in. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for taking the call.
Appreciate that. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? The sister-in-law of this judge whose house was burned down, her family was terrorized. Just a horrible story. You won't hear that story very much on the right, will you? Oh, no, but it's the radical left, right? According to Donald Trump, it's the radical left. What a joke. Let's go to Ray. Ray is next up on PTL. Hey, Ray, what's going on, man? What's on your mind today? Hi, Ray. Are you there? Ray? Ray, you got to lower your radio.
Hello?
Yes. Hi, Ray. Go right ahead. Lower your radio for me if you can.
I did.
Okay, go ahead, Ray. Go right ahead.
Is this Brian?
I've been called worse, but yes, this is Brian.
Hi, Brian. I've read a couple things that I want to comment on.
Okay.
Navy.
Yes.
My son served 21 years in the Navy.
God bless him.
He joined up and he got to be chief. He's flight engineer on the P-3 Orion. He never saw a ship, but he did a hell of a lot of missions.
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody that puts the Navy down is a piece of garbage.
What would you say to Pete Hegseth, who said diversity is not your strength? What would you say to him?
I can't say it over the radio.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean,
he's a piece of...
Yeah, this is the same guy who has a tattoo that says 100% white. I mean, this is the guy that's the Secretary of Defense. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
My son served with female flight engineers and pilots that were of color.
The attacks the attacks that our service members are getting, particularly people of color or women or transgender people, it's just the attacks that they are getting when they are willing to risk their life for this country, while the leader of the free world supposedly is the guy who dodged the military multiple times, who's an absolute coward, is despicable. Your son is a hero, my friend. Let me repeat that again. Your son is a hero. And will always be a hero. And guess what? I don't care what's between your legs. I don't care what your nationality is. I don't care what the color of your skin is. If you are willing to risk everything, your life, to fight for this nation, then you are a hero. And the attacks by the right on gender, it's so despicable and disgusting. And Pete Hegseth has the gall to say, your diversity is not your strength. Is so disgusting. I'm just so sick of it. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hello, Brian. How you doing today?
Hey, good.
That's good. Just wanted to kind of understand what the previous caller from Pennsylvania had talked about. Because what's happening here in Pennsylvania is that this November we have an election coming up. And what's happening in the election is that there are 3 judges that are up for re-election as Supreme Court justices. And all 3 of them are Democrats. And what this will decide is whether the 3 state Supreme Court justices will keep their seats for another 10 years. Now, what's been happening in Pennsylvania is that, as you know, in other states, Donald Trump is trying to get a listing of our voter rolls, and not only that, is trying to block in-state voting by paper ballots, which we do, and if these 3 are elected, we will be able to keep the Supreme Court in the majority, because we have a majority of 5-3 right now. And this is what's going on.
Well, I can tell you, There's certainly a lot going on in this country right now, that being one of many things that are happening in this country right now. But it's good to be aware and understand the damage that Donald Trump is doing every single day, that I will call it out on this show every single day, my dear. And I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. It's good to hear from you. Whatever happened to that bozo Fetterman? I used to support that guy. He is off his rocker. And I love Governor Shapiro. I think he's doing a great job out there. Fetterman is a disgrace. He really is a disgrace. Cozying up and being buddies with the far MAGA right, it blows my mind. It really does. Let's go to Phil. Phil is next up on PTL. Hey, Phil, what's up?
Hey, I wanted to make a comment and see what you think about this.
Okay.
I think there's a direct correlation between Stephen Miller and Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda minister. Listen to some of his speeches. There's a direct correlation.
No, I don't. Listen, I don't disagree with you. Here's what we know. Let's focus on Stephen Miller for a moment. He's a man filled with hate. Clearly, he's a racist. He does not want brown people in this country. He is Project 2025. He's a despicable human being. And I believe he writes most of Donald Trump's speeches. He is clearly one for division. He's a terrible human being. Now, whether I'm going to, make comparisons to Germany years ago is irrelevant. All I'm simply saying is I can understand why people make those comparisons. His verbiage certainly at times is very similar. He's a disgusting human being. He's terrible for the country. And he's a big part of this Donald Trump 2025 agenda. We know that for sure.
Why isn't there a march on Washington? I think we're due for a huge march on Washington.
I'm all for
what's going on.
Listen, sir, I'm all for peaceful protesting. I commend those that are out there peacefully protesting, and their voices deserve to be heard. If you're on the right side of history and you're pro-democracy and you hate what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now, I totally think I implore all of you to peacefully protest. I think that's a good thing, not a bad thing. And I appreciate your call, my friend. Let's go all the way to Las Vegas. I love my Las Vegas locals, right? Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL out of Las Vegas. Hey, Mark, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi. We're a little bit behind, so you caught me off guard there.
That's okay.
Yeah. Hey, a couple of things. One, this lawyer that you were talking to early in the show, Pollock, is in Orlando, Florida, but appears to know everything about what's going on in Portland, Oregon. And how many thousands of miles are there between these two?
Yeah, that's true. That's also a good point. Mark, I find this interesting with MAGA Republicans. They're election integrity experts when it comes to medicine. They're infectious disease experts. When it comes to, a couple hundred people in Portland on half a block of a street, they seem to know what's happening in the entire city of Portland, because one street might be blocked. I mean, listen, these people.
Yeah, we've been there.
It's a joke. It's a joke. These people are a joke.
Absolutely. Let me add in a couple other things. One is that with undocumented immigrants and healthcare, they tend to be much younger and healthier. So if we wanted to lower premiums for everybody, we should allow them into the system. And that would actually work out for everybody, because it's not just that they need health care, for instance, if they break a leg or they have an emergency or something like that, but you want them seeing regular health care specialists in case they have a communicable disease.
Mark, it gets worse. You're right. So, Mark, I agree with what you're just saying, but let me ask you, what do you think is going to happen in this big and awful bill when 15 to 20 million Americans lose their health care coverage? I can give you a hint. They're going to get sick. Who do you think is going to be paying for that?
Well, not just sick, but we're going to be visiting graveyards a lot more often.
I wish that wasn't true, but it is, Mark. My point being is that a lot of these people are going to be going to the emergency room. They're going to get health care. They're going to get sicker. And it's going to cost the American taxpayer more money than if they just stay put where they are and receive the medical benefits that they need to survive. But why is it that MAGA Republicans are so stupid they don't even understand that? Why?
Because they're authoritarians. You see, what they want is a daddy figure. And they think like Antifa is an organization where you've got somebody in charge they can go after. They can't conceive that any group would not be like them.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's probably a lot of reasons for it. Authoritarian is certainly one aspect of it. This is an oligarchy. It's a dictatorship. We know that, Mark.
You bet.
But it's sick. Mark, I appreciate it. It's good to hear from you. I try to make that case to you MAGA buffoons out there. If 20 million people are going to lose their health care coverage, many of those people are going to get very sick. They're going to have to go to the hospital anyway. It's going to cost the American taxpayer more money. Why is that so hard for you MAGA buffoons out there to understand? It's so stupid. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick is next up on PTL. Hello, Patrick.
Sounds like a cult of personality going on to me.
Okay. What's up, Patrick? What's on your mind today?
How you doing, B? Hey, great debate, man.
Thank you.
You know, Pollock is the epitome of the Red Hat Challenge, right? You know, you name one thing, name just one thing ever that the man has ever done wrong in his whole life, and he just can't do it.
Or better yet, you say elected Democrats are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. Can you name me one person?
Oh my God.
I mean, he couldn't name one. I mean, and then he tried to say AOC, and I shut that down really fast because that was a lie.
It was that one goofball on TikTok that represents all of the extreme left. Yeah.
Just ridiculous, right? I mean, they lie. They say things that are not true. There is a difference, and you know this. There is a difference between celebrating the murder of somebody, which, by the way, I do not condone, and not wanting to celebrate their life. I refuse to celebrate his life. It doesn't mean I'm celebrating his death. There's a difference, but they're so stupid. They don't understand the difference.
Well, it's just cult mentality. I mean, it takes a true team to create a real narcissist. We all have narcissistic tendencies, right? But the true narcissist who was raised by a man who told him always project strength, never show weakness, right? Always claim the win, never admit fault. The guy has never, ever admitted he's been wrong in his whole life. He's never prayed for forgiveness.
It's true.
You know, and he represents the Christian right.
Yeah.
You know, and then we got, literally got Stephen Miller quoting Goebbels at Chuck's funeral.
It's really
literally
unbelievable.
on stage.
It's unbelievable. No, you're right. You're right. It's unbelievable.
Well, I did my own research, you know what I mean? So I choose not to believe anything that anybody tells me except for my side, because they've been trained that way. It's the hypno programming of, say something 3 times, they hear you. Say it 30 times.
I did my own
really
research. I did my own research is usually another way of saying you're a complete imbecile who watches Fox News and you get your information from Jesse Waters, Laura Ingraham, and Sean Hannity and Mark Levin. That's what it means. I did my own research. These fools, these clowns.
There was a guy one time that said something about involuntary lethal injection, and then he ran out of shots and ended up using gas.
Yeah. I hear you, my friend. I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. And I'm with you on that. I did my own research. How many times have you heard that from a MAGA buffoon? I did my own research. What does that mean? You watched Matt Gaetz on OAN or AON or whatever the hell that network is called. Yeah, I listened to what Mike Lindell had to say on Lindell TV. I mean, it's just that I did my own research. Holy smokes. Let's go to Terry. Terry is next up on PTL. Hey, Terry, what's up?
I did my own research.
Terry. You there?
Hi, Brian. Good afternoon.
What's up?
This one goes out to Mike Johnson. You are a despicable disgrace to this country, and so is your president. He's not my president. And the Republicans have absolutely no plan for health care. They're all in bed with Big Pharma, and they're also all in bed with the health care companies. Yeah. So I don't see any movement going on here at all to get a health care plan for the American people.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. Remember, we were supposed to get a health care plan in 2 weeks, give it a month. Donald Trump has had 9 years, and they could, ask any MAGA buffoon out there who complains about Obamacare. What's Donald Trump's replacement plan? He said he's had one. Where is it? Well, you got to give more time. But wait a second. He's had 9 years to come up with a replacement plan. Is this what you would call a serious lawmaker? I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's so easy to dissect their stupid arguments. If you complain about something, what are you doing to try to fix it? Taking 15 to 20 million people off of Medicaid? That's your way of fixing our healthcare system? And then JD Vance says, well, if Democrats just agree to this, we'll fix it in 2 weeks. Yeah, we've been hearing that for 9 years. You bozos.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Brian. They're not going to do anything.
Clownery. Well, they will do something. They're going to take away health care from millions of Americans. They will do that. The biggest tax breaks for the top 1%, but we're going to take away your health care, people in this country that are struggling. Oh, but there's people that take advantage of the system. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, as president of the United States, has made billions and billions of dollars for his family in after becoming the president of the United States second time around. Jared Kushner receiving a $2.1 billion blank check from the Saudis. And they want to talk about people that are taking advantage of the system because they have food stamps. These people are some of the biggest idiots that America has to offer. It really is mesmerizing. Quick programming note for you. So tomorrow on the show, Will Chamberlain is a fairly intelligent guy, and he is on the far right. And Will Chamberlain is making the argument that the Democrats are the ones that are responsible for this government shutdown. So we are going to get into a all-out duke it out debate with him tomorrow on the program. To start the show, it's been a little while. We had him on a few weeks ago. Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch is going to be joining us. So always going to be great. My thanks to Pam Hemphill, by the way. I wanted to get firsthand witness knowledge of what is going on in Portland. She gave that to us. David Pollack came on the show. He said elected Democrats are, celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. Couldn't give me one name or one quote that defended that argument. That's what they do, ladies and gentlemen. I come prepared. That's what they do. We have some more special guests that are going to be joining us later on in the week. Don't listen to the right-wing rhetoric about what's going on in Portland. It is a joke. You have these right-wing idiots out there like the Nick Sortors of the world who are playing victim when they are the ones who are inciting. They are the ones who are the agitators. And the only reason why they're there, probably being paid by the Donald Trump administration, by the way, is to make it seem like things are horrible out there when they're not. They're not. And another excuse for Donald Trump to deploy the National Guard. It is disgusting and it is despicable. So, ladies and gentlemen, you might see on the upper right-hand corner of your screen, as I point to it, you see that right there. That is a link to my website, which is pushingthelimits.live. If you really want to support what we do here, we are an independently owned radio show. We rely on good people like you, people in the YouTube Super Chat. You can make donations on there with that link. It'll take you to it. $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can afford, we greatly appreciate it. Pushingthelimits.live, and it helps us keep the lights on here and support what we do, and you're supporting independently owned media, and we appreciate your support in advance. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch going to be joining us, and of course, as I mentioned, right-wing popular podcaster Will Chamberlain will be joining us on the show tomorrow as well. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie?